Good afternoon, everybody. I want to record two videos for you today. This one is conceptually about what an introduction is, and I'll step through paragraph by paragraph with you briefly. And the next one is about the mechanics. So I've already said many times an introduction is meant to introduce the topic. I've also said that you should be looking very carefully at the references that you're using, not just to learn from them about the topic, but also to see how the authors approach the problem, okay? You need to read, and probably read more than once, okay? That's more for the mechanics, and I'll get there. So, it's sometimes described as an hourglass shape. You start very broad, you talk about the significance of the problem, how widespread the problem is. You will notice some papers talk about maybe a classic approach to the problem, that is a classic paper or a classic model that was put forth. So something that situates the importance of what you're studying. How is it related to safety? How is it related to, which is an applied concern? How is it related to just basic understanding about how humans work, maybe in social situations? That could be thought of as a basic science question, a basic social psychological science question, for example. Okay, you're starting broad, and then that might take a paragraph or two of introduction, and then you've got to describe a first study. It could be a first observational study, it could be an experimental study. It may not be completely related to what you've done, but it should be an experimental approach, an empirical approach, I should say, that is collecting data, an empirical approach to the problem that you are discussing. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're studying positive behavior like altruistic behavior, positive social behaviors like door holding, but what you have a lot of is cart returning at a supermarket, that stands as maybe something very close and something you'll discuss. So your first set of research that you discuss will be a little further away from your exact topic. And then typically you narrow to the key study that you found that linked you to other studies and that you used in your library session as a link to other studies. So you narrow down to the key study and you describe a couple of studies in some detail. What did they observe? What did they measure? If there was a manipulation, what did they manipulate? That's the last paragraph before your final paragraph or two. And your final paragraph or two is to describe your hypotheses in the present study. So oftentimes I tell students, start the final paragraph or final two paragraphs with in the present study. Okay? So in the present study, you're going to address the problems put forth by some of the authors, and you cite them. You say, I just described Smith and Jones, and what we're addressing here with our observations are the ideas put forth by Smith and Jones. Okay? If you have specific predictions about how you think gender or age or any other category might be related to something that you're observing, that's your hypotheses. You think that there will be a relationship, not a correlational relationship, because we're going to be doing chi-squared analyses. Okay? So this is what's called a contingent relationship. That's where you say, in the present study, here's what we're doing, and here's what we hypothesize. Wonderful. That is the hourglass method. Broad, study, closer, and then here in this work, here is what we're doing, and here's our predictions.